Sit Down Zumock podcast. This is Chad Zumock, the Z-Man, coming to you live and direct from Cleveland, Ohio, my hometown. Thanksgiving. I'm home for Thanksgiving. I want to thank everyone the past 3 weeks in New York City, Phoenix, Denver, San Diego, Los Angeles, everyone that came out to the shows. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I do appreciate the support. I like the fact that I'm getting a fan base in these cities. I like the fact that people know me in Denver and Phoenix and they're buying a ticket. That's a pretty cool feeling considering I've dedicated about 15 years of my life to doing stand-up comedy and these creative endeavors. I'm my own boss. It's rewarding when people come to see you because you feel like, okay, it's working. And it seems to be working. So I definitely want to thank each and every one of you for coming out. I also want to thank the people that signed up for Patreon. I know I only have a few here, but you guys are loyal, you support me, and every time somebody supports me, I get to build this thing, brick by brick. That's how my whole career's been, grassroots. And it's because of your support, and I'm grateful. I want to give a shout out to Kevin Cernier. If you are in Ohio, anywhere in Ohio, and you need insurance, not just car insurance, any kind of insurance. I don't know if he does any kind. Pretty sure it's home, boat, car, motorcycle, birds. You know those bird scooters? It's a California thing. I don't think Cleveland has gotten the bird scooter yet, but it's pretty cool. I like it a lot. Get to zip around. All right, well, Kevin Cernier will take care of your insurance needs. He's a State Farm agent, and if you have never had to deal with an insurance company, it's a fucking nightmare. He'll take care of all that for you. Tell him the Z-Man sent you. The link is in the description, kevincernier.com. The phone number is in the description. I'm driving right now. I'm podcasting and driving. Very deadly. Highly recommended, though. So it's a lot of fun. Kills the time. The way I look at it is I can either listen to a podcast or do a podcast. So I'm doing the podcast for my Patreon. And I have a Q&A, and I have the questions that I put out there on my Facebook page. And just a bunch of questions that people have emailed me. And what I did is I did a little Word document, and I have the Word document, so I'm going to podcast, read questions, and drive at the same time. Perfectly legal. I don't know if I could get pulled over. I don't know if I can go to court. Judge goes, Chad, so I understand you were podcasting and doing a Q&A. I don't know what law that is. I don't know if I break... anyways, let's just get to these questions. All right. Greg246 House. This was a tweet. This was his name. I don't know his real name. Maybe that's his real name. Maybe his mother gave him that name. I guarantee you, by the way, not to get off track, that at one point in life, there's going to be a parent that puts the @ symbol in front of the kid's name for his legal name, like @ whatever. It's going to happen. As we move forward in life, by 2025, somebody's real name, legal name will be @ something. That's my prediction. If it happens, you heard it here first. Anyways, let's get to Greg's question. Greg wants to know if there's any underrated comedians we should know about. I love comedy, but I also love discovering new comedians. Great question, Greg. Yes. Now, some of these people have fan bases, and you may not know of them. But one comedian in particular, I talked about him on my social media. Mike Vecchione has an album out called, and I might be fucking this up, a different kind of thoughtful or something. The wrong kind of thoughtful. Anyways, by far, out of Netflix specials and comedy, it's the best comedy piece of the year. There's not a better one out there. He's a classic joke writer. I listened to it about 13 times. I was on his podcast. I told him, I go, it's the best comedy album I've ever heard. One of the best, not the best, but it's a fantastic album. I recommend it. Please check it out if you can. You know, if you have Spotify or any streaming service, listen to it. Apple Music. It's definitely worth a buy. But yeah, and Mike's a great comic. He's if you're in New York City, he's a regular at the Comedy Cellar, the Stand, all over New York, man. So if you run into Mike Vecchione and you listen to the album, send him a message. Tell him that I told you to pick up his album, because I'm a big supporter of guys like that. Just put the grind in, they put the work in, and they may not be on that national stage. They may not have that name like Bert Kreischer or Joe Rogan or Tom Segura, but they're great comics. And Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, they will all tell you the same thing about Mike Vecchione. So Mike Vecchione's a guy you should know about. Obviously, my best friend Kevin Brennan. I'm sure you're familiar with Angry Kevin, Crazy Kevin. You know, his podcast has a cult following, but he's also a great comic. He's a good stand-up comic. Check him out if you haven't seen his comedy. He's a great joke writer. So far, I'm just naming white guys. So that's going to change because it's 2018. Diversity. Taylor Tomlinson is a female comic, and I'm actually working with her this weekend at the Pittsburgh Improv. She's very funny. She's very young, too. She's like 24, but she's a murderer on stage. Great joke writer. Taylor Tomlinson. Check her out. All right, now it's time for a black guy. 2018, diversity. Who's a good black comic? Who did I just see perform? I think it was at the Hollywood Improv. No, Comedy Magic Club. Mauricio Vance. I'm fucking his name up. He opens for Tosh a lot, Daniel Tosh. Is it Mauricio Vance? Am I saying it right? He's a real nice guy. Met him briefly, but works clean. Funny guy, man. I don't know if he has an album out, but I was watching him in the back of the room and laughing, LOLing. Brody Stevens, who's been on the podcast, he has a special live from the main room. It's really funny. If you've never been to the Comedy Store, it gives you an idea what the Comedy Store is all about. But more importantly, Brody Stevens does the Sam Kinison spot, which is a legendary spot at the Comedy Store. It's closing out the main room. It's one of the hardest spots there because people are filing out, they're filing in, drunk people are coming in, homeless people are coming in, and it's a clusterfuck. But Brody is the perfect comic for that spot. So he's been closing out the Comedy Store for years. So he decided to do a special with Comedy Dynamics just to record what he does. And that's, if you've never seen Brody Stevens live, I definitely recommend you checking that out, because you can capture not only that last spot at the Comedy Store, but what Brody Stevens does. It's a good representation of who he is. And it's a reason why I love Brody. Brody! Sam Tripoli is a great comic, good friend of mine. By the way, a lot of these comics I'm mentioning, a lot of you have come to me from them, like Brody, Kevin Brennan, Vecchione, so you probably already know about them. So thank you for your support, and thanks to these guys for giving me new followers. But Sam has a special out called Zero Fucks, which is really funny. Filmed it at the Viper Room, which was clever. It looks cool. The Viper Rooms where River Phoenix died, if you didn't know that. I don't know why I threw that in there. I think that's why a lot of people know the Viper Room, because River Phoenix died on the sidewalk. Way too young, I might add. Way too young. So, yeah. Those are some comics. I hope that answers your question. I don't know if it's a question. Hopefully it helps if you're looking for comedy on the internet. By the way, that's the best place. I mean, I love that comedians they're producing their own specials and they're selling the specials themselves. They're not going through a distributor. The internet's great. It's the Wild West at this point. And now it's just trying to find this shit. It's like, I love anyone that can bypass the gatekeeper. because the gatekeepers stink. And a lot of the product out there stinks because of the gatekeepers. So it's our job as comedians and people with followings to help navigate. So if you like me, I recommend these people. And then whoever they recommend, keep going down that wormhole. Like the Beastie Boys is one of my favorite bands. And they released a book. I bought it. I went and saw them at their book release show. And what I loved about the Beastie Boys, they're such fans of music. So they're influenced by a lot of fucking music. I mean, across the board, from ska, rap, reggae, hip-hop, rock, metal, punk rock. So I became a fan of a lot of the bands they were influenced by. I went down rabbit holes. Like I found out about Bad Brains. I found out about the Meters. I found out about Public Enemy. I found out about Johnny Cash. No, I didn't find out about Jerry Reed. They're influenced by so much. So I like finding a band or a comedian and find out what their influence is and just going down that rabbit hole. I recommend you do the same. Do the same. Speaking of albums, I have an album coming out. It's an EP. It should be out hopefully in the next couple weeks. I recorded it at Comedy on State in Madison, Wisconsin. And I decided to put it out as an EP. It was going to be a full-length album, but there's a lot of jokes I'm still working on. I'm like, you know what? I'm not ready to put that out there. So it's going to be a 35-minute album because there's no rules. You can do what you want. It's only going to be $5. I'm not asking full album price. But I recommend you, I'm going to do a pre-order. If you could pre-order it for the holidays, gift it to someone, share it. I do recommend pre-ordering it. I want to try to get it to number 1. If you could do that, that'd be great. And it supports me. Enough cheap plugs. Enough. Let's get to the Q&A. This was from Heather Goodwin. It says she emailed me, so I don't know if I was supposed to say her name, but she emailed me. Just says, Chad, big fan of yours from your days at WMMS, Alan Cox Show. Will you be returning to radio? Love you, Heather. Heather, thank you. I will not be returning to radio. I mean, if something fell into my lap that made sense, I would, but I'm not pursuing it. In fact, I had a radio agent. I just told him, like, I'm just not interested. He was trying to get me to voice track and do shit like that, but I never wanted to do that. That's not why I got into radio. I kind of like the free-form conversation, talk shows. I never wanted to hit the post. I never wanted to be that jock. I never wanted to have a radio name. So that never interests me. He tried to get me going that direction. I just don't want to do it. Those jobs are out there. They don't really pay. And the market is dying. The whole radio structure is dying because of technology and podcasting and how you get your music. There's still good radio markets out there, but they're few and far between. And those shows that are out there, they're going to just die eventually. But that's what's left. They're not bringing in new talent. They're not building new shows. That's why a lot of people have gone to podcasting, because you can do what you want. They don't want to deal with the corporate environment, the corporate structure, the rules, the regulations, the FCC, all that nonsense. So this is what it is. I encourage everyone to listen to podcasts. Podcasting is the future. You know, there's a lot of the old heads that's what they know. They like their routine, they like their radio. But that's what it is. I guess I answered your question. I'm not going to be returning to radio. Also, a lot of people always ask me MMS stuff and Alan Cox and all that. I'm done talking about that. Like 2-3 weeks ago, I talked to a friend of mine. I'm not going to tell you who he is. I decided I will never talk about that anymore. I know a lot of people know me from that. I know a lot of people know that I have a lot of problems with that. It's been very difficult at times to this day, but I'm done talking about it completely across the board. I'm just done. I made a decision just to let it rest, let it lay, and move forward and move on. Even if it's in front of me, I'm just going to move out of the way because nothing good comes out of it. Nothing good has come out of it. And no matter what, I have my side of the story and they're going to stick to theirs. And that's what it is. You can't change people's opinions. You can't change what really happened. It's just what it is. And I'm going to take that energy and I'm going to focus in other areas just because I don't want to deal with any of it. It's not healthy. It's not good. I don't like those people, and that's what it is. Nothing good's going to come out of it. So I had a bunch of like these questions, but I can't. I figured out I'll address it with just this one email, and we'll be done with that. We'll turn the page, if you will, to quote the great Bob Seger from Detroit. We're going to turn the page, and then it's going to be remade by Metallica for some reason. But thank you, Heather. And I got a question from Bob. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Linguetted? Bob Linguetted. That's not how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, but that's the best I could come up with how you spell it. Linguetted. Bob Linguetted. It just says, are you going to see Creed 2? That's it. That's what he wanted to ask me, if I'm going to see Creed 2. I picture Bob Linguetted woke up, was just like, he saw my post, I'm doing a Q&A for Patreon, got any questions, ask me. And he's like, you know what? I got to find out if this motherfucker's going to see Creed 2. I need to know. Who gives a shit about his comedy career? Who gives a shit about who he voted for? Who gives a shit about anything he's ever done? I want to know if this fucking guy is going to see Creed 2. I need to know. I need to know now. Well, Bob, I'm going to answer your question, and I'm going to give you the response you deserve, because you need to know. And the question, or the answer to your question is yes, I'm going to see fucking Creed 2. I'm going to go see that fucking movie. I'm going to watch the fuck out of it. I'm going to watch the beginning, and I'm going to watch the end. In fact, I'm going to watch all the trailers, and then I'm going to watch all the credits. That's how hard I'm going to watch Creed 2. I'm going to be focused. I'm going to turn off my phone, and I'm going to be in the zone. I'm going to have a popcorn, I'm going to have a Coca-Cola, and I'm going to have gummy Lifesavers, because I like them. And I'm just going to watch the fucking movie, man. I'm going to watch it, and then I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave the movie theater after I bought a movie ticket. And I'm going to pay full price. I'm not going to a matinee. They're getting every penny out of me. That's how hard I'm going to watch Creed 2, Bob. Does that answer your fucking question, dog? I can't tell if I liked it or not, because I haven't watched it yet. But I'm going to watch it when I'm in Pittsburgh this weekend, because I need to kill time. Actually, you know what? I got to see a matinee, because I have shows that night. So they're not getting top dollar, but I'm going to pay. I'm paying, and I'm going to pay overpriced for the concessions, even though I'm a big fan of sneaking food in. I'm a huge fan of that. In fact, I recommend you go to the drugstore before you go to the movie theaters, and you put it in your coat. One time I snuck a sub sandwich in there from Quiznos. I put it in my coat with Coke. I had chips. That's what you do. Because concessions are expensive and it's a ripoff. But I'm going to watch the fuck out of Creed 2 full price, despite the matinee. I'm actually, in all honesty, I'm looking forward to that movie. I think it's really cool. I love retro shit. I'm a big fan of the Rocky franchise. I thought Creed was well done. I liked how they repackaged it. I love how Stallone finally figured out how to perfect Rocky. He finally figured out how to do Rocky to perfection. Even though it's a no-brainer, I love the storyline of Ivan Drago and his son. He's down on his luck. He's pissed. Rocky ruined his life, and now he's living vicariously through his son, and he's going to fight Creed, who Draco's killed his father. It's fucking great. It's perfect. I'm going to see it. I love it. I can't wait. I wish I could give you a review, but the trailer looks phenomenal. And by the way, the guy who directed it, from Cleveland. Yeah. He directed that movie that was in Sundance called The Land, about Cleveland skateboarders, which I didn't know Cleveland had a scene. I haven't seen the movie. I'm going to check it out. But this is his first big budget blockbuster. So good on him. Good on another dude from Cleveland. Represent, dog. Creed 2. I'm going to watch it. Bob. You hear my turn signal? Podcasting and driving with a sheet of paper of questions I wrote down. And the next question. This is from Dylan. I know Dylan. Dylan is actually acquaintance of mine. He's a good dude. He works at Home Depot. Dylan, I don't know. I won't give out your last name. And I'm not going to tell you the Home Depot you work at, so in case someone tries to stalk Dylan, it's not going to happen. Dylan wants to know, do the Cavs make the playoffs this year? All right. That's kind of an inside joke. But no, they're fucking not making they're going to come in last place. I predicted the Cavs would make the fucking playoffs this year. A lot of it was out of spite that LeBron left. But I could not have been more wrong. This team is a fucking train wreck. It's a mess. They fired Ty Lue, 5 games in or something? I don't even know how many games in. It's just Kevin Love fucking breaks his foot. And it's just a nightmare. J.R. Smith just decides, I don't want to play for the Cavs anymore. And they're like, okay, cool. All right, well, just don't come to work and we'll pay you. And then we'll try to trade you. It's like, how did that become a thing? You sign these multi-million-dollar contracts, and you're like, I don't feel like playing anymore. They're like, all right, cool. All right, we'll just go home, and we'll try to trade you at one point. That's so fucked up. You can't do that in the real world. You can't do that at a job. Like, I don't want to work here anymore. All right, well, cool. Just go home, and we'll fire you maybe in a couple weeks or so. But until then, we're gonna pay you. It's fucking crazy. It's ridiculous. Like, they traded Kyrie last year because he didn't want to be in Cleveland. They're like, well, and if they didn't trade him, he was just going to sit out. How do you do that? What? How can you do that? That's what's fucked up about the NBA. That's a problem, man. I don't know if there's a way to perfect it or to fix it, but they shouldn't be allowed to do that. With that being said, by the way, J.R. Smith, all-time GOAT, G in Cleveland. He perfected what Cleveland's all about. The underdog, the misfit, the fuck-up who triumphs. He became like that. He became that like, what's the word I'm looking for? That symbol of what Cleveland embodies. As I search for the word embodies in my dumb brain. That's the one I pull out, embodies. In my stupid, dumb brain. I was like, what's that fucking word that can really tie this into a bow? Embodies. That's the best one. I stink. My dumb vocabulary, my limited vocabulary. You know what? I think I'm just going to put this out there. Not just for Patreon. Just for everyone. Why not? Fuck it. This is my holiday gift to you. This is my Black Friday gift to you. A free podcast for all. Not just Patreon. Although Patreon, I got one. I'm going to put one up this weekend. I did a Q&A. Not a Q&A. I did a conversation with, if you're a fan of mine from Kevin's podcast, Burning Bridges, Misery Loves Company, I always make fun of me because I always do a podcast, or I always say Wendy from Denver. They're always like, say hi, Wendy from Denver, because I said she's really super nice. She's the owner of the Comedy Works in Denver, one of my favorite comedy clubs. And it's the 15th anniversary of Dave Attell's Skanks for the Memories, one of my favorite comedy albums of all time. And it's the 15th anniversary that he recorded it at the Comedy Works. So I sat down and talked with Wendy about recording that album. But we also started talking about other comedians and stuff that's gone through her club. It's pretty interesting. Wendy is a staple in the comedy community. She's one of the names out there. If you get entrenched in comedy, Wendy Curtis in Denver is like part of the conversation. She's been around for a long time. She knows everybody in the game. Dave Chappelle texts her nonstop. Like, she's a fucking G. She's great. I know when they bust my balls, and Wendy from Denver is nice, and I always say hi. She's fucking great. So I had a nice conversation just for the Patreon about David Tell, Skanks for the Memories. We talk about Greg Giraldo. We talk about Chappelle. We talk about a lot of cool stuff. So that will be for Patreon only. That'll be out this weekend. All right. I have a couple more questions, but I have to. I'm recording this on Thanksgiving, and I'm driving to my aunt's house. So I'm gonna save these for the next Q&A. I'm gonna save these questions for the next Q&A because I don't just answer them. I answer the fuck out of them, right, Bob? I get into it. I don't just give you one-word answers. I tell you what's up. Hope you enjoyed the Q&A. It went from Patreon to a holiday gift. And those people that want to see me on the road, I think the third week in December, I'm in Washington, D.C. at the D.C. Comedy Loft. I'm looking forward to it. I am headlining 4 shows, Friday and Saturday. I'll be back in New York City the second week of December. I don't know what spots I'm doing yet, but I'm going to be doing some spots. I hope you can check me out if you're in New York. So follow me on social media, Instagram, Twitter. I have a YouTube page. It's called YouTube.com/Adventures in Argyle. You can listen to my podcast on my YouTube page if you have an Android and you can't do the iTunes or Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify. Follow me on Spotify, god damn it. All this stuff I'm asking is for free. If you could do that, I would appreciate it. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. To you and your family, happy Thanksgiving. It's a good one. It's 2018. I'm in a good place, people. We'll talk to you later. The Z-Man is out. That's a wrap.